Commissioner Brinson,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here?
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Firstner,
Here.
Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
Can I say something first, if you don't mind?
Yes, ma'am.
This is for the commission, whoever speaks. We had an issue, I'm told last night, some residents called me and told me that they can't hear us on the live streaming. Unfortunately, they could only see your hands move on the last item. So the thing, if we could just be cognizant of that, because they're not hearing what we're saying on the live stream. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
I can hear that.
He's already mad at the
You
budget.
can hear that.
All right. We got mayor's opening announcements. Mayor, this is an advertised public hearing to adopt a final millage rate and finalize the budget for the city of Ocoee for the fiscal year 2022-2023, commencing October 1st, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023. The city commission has previously approved a tentatively millage rate of 4.9732 mills, which represents a 7.2% increase in millage over the rollback rate of 4.6361 mills. The advertised tentative millage rate of 5.05 is the maximum millage rate which may be adopted by the city commission at this final budget public hearing tonight. I now ask the Director of Finance to make a brief presentation.
Okay, try again. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Based upon the decisions of the Commission at the first hearing, the HRDB, these are adjustments that were made following that hearing. The HRDB budget was increased to $100,000 for multicultural events, an increase of $55,000. The Youth Council budget was reinstated at $10,000. The Youth Initiatives budget was decreased by $5,000. $50,000 was added for sidewalks. In addition, the staff listing was amended to show the mayor and commissioners holding elected positions, neither full-time or part-time, and a new budget line was added, transfers out Ocoee Music Festival. Neither of those two items had a budget effect. The budget as presented this evening is balanced at 4.9500 mils, which is 7% above the rollback rate of 4.6361. The increase in the millage rate will be used to balance the budget, which provides for city-wide operations and capital improvements. At the previous budget hearing, the Commission discussed the possibility of adding supplementary bulk collection services to the Solid Waste Fund. We have calculated the cost for providing that service, and I am prepared to present those costs to the Commission and the Mayor if the Mayor would like me to do so at this time. Yes, sir. No, sir. I have prepared the cost for potentially adding supplementary bulk pickup services.
Yeah, please. Can we put it on the screen?
I am going to do that, yes, sir. I'm going to go through this very quickly. I need to start again. I apologize. Having a little difficulty with this today. The cost for adding bulk collection services provided by the city would include the cost for a compliance supervisor. That supervisor would be a full-time employee who would coordinate directly with Waste Connections and city residents. The employee would work proactively to mitigate collection issues and ensure compliance with both the city solid waste collection ordinance and the Waste Connections contract. $45,000 would be added annually for the lease of a $180,000 claw truck. The lease would extend over 4 years. $32,000 would be added for the purchase of a pickup truck. $25,000 would be needed for annual fuel and maintenance. $150,000 for dumping fees. $29,000 to set aside for future capital replacements. And $71,700 would be necessary to reimburse the general fund for upfront costs to establish the service. That's $409,250 in the first year, and annually thereafter. The increase would be $28.74 annually for each account, or $2.40 monthly. I have to note that the city's ability to charge for collecting the excess bulk may require a review of our current contract.
That it?
Yes, sir. I have an alternative, if you would like me to review the
ma'am.
alternative. The alternative would be to put in place the compliance supervisor we discussed a moment ago, to purchase a pickup truck. We'd incur the fuel costs, the capital replacement costs, and the reimbursement costs to the general fund, a total of $214,000. We would not purchase the claw truck, and we would not incur the dumping fee charges. In this scenario, we would be relying upon Waste Connections to go back out and to collect those bulk pickups that have not been previously picked up. This would cost $1,504 annually or $1.25 monthly per account. And that's all I have for you. I'm happy to take questions, and our our solid waste folks are here also to assist in answering some questions.
All right, you want to discuss that now for you?
I have some questions, but.
Okay. Is that with the budget, with the 4.97?
The implementation of the solid waste program would not affect our millage rate, because the general fund would be loaning the money to the solid waste fund, and that would be repaid, so that would not affect our millage rate.
Okay. All right, commissioners, anybody want to make comments on that?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, could you, sorry, as you go, put the back on the screen, if you don't mind the screen for the second for Plan B. Sure. Okay. Plan B, we have a contract with Waste Management. Okay, Waste Management does not, if we have extra, we are to contact Waste Management and make arrangements for the cost to pick up. That is what we're supposed to do.
Correct.
Correct. How would Plan B work? We have a compliance supervisor going out, and let's say I have 20 bags. Okay, and they picked up 10 because that's what the contract allows. Either I can take my 10 bags back in, or, and I've done this, put piecemeal out each week. How is this going to correct my issue of having 10 extra bags?
I think maybe I can explain. So we provided this as an alternative, a less expensive alternative. The way it stands right now, the resident calls in, says something screwed up, it didn't happen. Public Works takes the call, transfers it to Waste Connections, and it's kind of between them two at that point. This puts a city employee in the middle of it and says, okay, yeah, it was a missed pickup, they need to come back. They had an excess amount, and they need to either take it back in and bring it out next collection, pay for a special pickup, or if it's a code enforcement issue, then they get with code enforcement to make sure that if we have to do it and put a lien on the property or something like that, it adds a city employee in the middle to get the problem resolved, instead of just transferring that issue over to Waste Connections.
Okay, now could you go back to Plan A, so I could kind of look at just,
Now, I'm trying to figure out how to get back here.
so we're talking from 200 and something thousand to 400,000 to pick it up ourselves. How does that affect the contract that we have with Waste Management at this point?
So the contract right now states that the contractor, Waste Connections, has the opportunity to do that extra pickup and charge for it. So if we were going to take that on ourselves, and if it were an excess pickup and we were going to charge them, we would probably have to sit down, look at the contract, see if it's clear that only they have the right, or if we can renegotiate to say, in certain conditions where you can't get out there in a certain amount of time, we would be doing that, and we would be directly charging the residents.
Okay, so every resident on Plan A would be charged $240 a month extra,
Correct.
and they could get my additional 10 bags picked up?
No,
No.
no.
I'm still just gonna get my 5 bags. I'm gonna get the 4x4 by whatever that numbers are.
Yeah, it doesn't allow for any additional pickups. It's basically the city stepping into this issue and saying, yeah, you are in violation of the ordinance, here's what you can do at this point. And we have the opportunity to offer our services in order to remedy the situation.
May I?
Please.
Don't we have,
I'm sorry, is that these matter?
don't we have that system in place already where the homeowners can call into our department and say, hey, this is a missed pickup, or they didn't take all my trash, and then they can, because what I'm looking at, and I don't know if this is where Commissioner Wilson was going, is at a minimum, we're talking $200,000 added just for a person, another body. They're using that word again, body, to do something that, it seems to me, that's already in place.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Well, essentially, what we field every day is about 15 to 20 calls. And residents have either issues of the requirements or don't understand the requirements. And so we look at how much it's going to cost for Get With Waste Connections for them to go out and take pictures of the excess material beyond 4 cubic yards or 10 bags. And so that takes time and process. Then you have the quantity of material that everybody doesn't understand how much to put out. It seems like it's just an issue. And then the major one is some things don't get picked up at all. And so we want to increase this level of service and enhance it for our residents. And by doing this, you have that compliance supervisor there helping them out in the field, watching over this and hands-on with the resident and Waste Connections. And basically, it also comes down to the checks and balances with Waste Connections, because when they charge this extra fee, how do they, we really don't know how much it could change this rate. So we're trying to figure out all that as well in this whole thing. They bill the resident directly, so we don't know that transaction, what's going on.
They call in, I understand.
Right.
They call in and they're told over the phone how much it will cost.
Correct.
Which I
After-
always was wondering how they knew over the phone how big it was. And then they pay for it right then by a card.
That's how they
Credit
do
card.
it. Yeah, they'll call it in and then they pay directly with a credit card or however they want to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else?
What is the, looking at Plan A, what is the benefit of having a claw truck would the requirements stay the same as far as 4 cubic yards versus 10 bags, that stay the same, even with the claw truck?
Under the contract, that would stay the same. In excess of that contract amount, that's where we would have someone available to go out with a claw truck and initiate this whole process of picking up and taking care of that excess
So
material.
we would control the claw truck? That
The
would be
claw
under
truck
our
on this
control.
option, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You list a compliance supervisor. Is there a need for another resource to drive the truck, the claw truck, or are we going to use a current resource?
The compliance officer or supervisor or coordinator, however we frame this whole thing, will also be an operator.
Oh, so they're, okay.
So this is a combined dual
So
purpose.
they're doing 2 jobs. They're doing compliance and they're also operating the truck.
It's a substantial position, yes, sir.
And the difference, under Plan B, what is the difference in the monthly amount? I know right here we got $2.40 a month.
$1.20, I thought.
So in Plan A, it's $1.20?
No, Plan A, it looks like is $2.40, but I thought it was like $1.20.
125, so it's about $1.15. Oh, darn it.
Went too far.
Went a little too far.
Can I kind of segue off of Commissioner Oliver?
$1.25.
If and this is kind of a segue off of what you have to say, is they're not gonna pick up any more. They're only gonna pick up, if we get a claw truck, they're only gonna still pick up that.
That's what their contract states. They'll stick to their contract. Now, I mean, it's complicated, we get it, it's a dynamic situation. But if you want to increase the level of service, this helps do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that was what you wanted, that's something we could maybe renegotiate with. I think when we originally started this program, we checked with the other cities around to see how much they pick up. And I think, what are we at? How many yards is it, Richard?
4 yards.
4
cubic yards.
per week. Yeah, when we looked at that, we thought that was pretty much, more or equal to what most other municipalities were doing.
And before we go any further, I apologize. I want to let the citizens know that under this system, we'll have a public hearing. The citizens can talk when I recognize you. We got it coming up in the next couple of minutes. And you just fill out that form and put what you want to talk about, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. Here's the deal. It's either one or the other. We've been talking about it for 2 years. So the only way to solve this problem, it looks to me like one or the other of these have got to work. So, I mean, we can try the one smaller one the first year, but then again, you take a chance.
Mayor, I think that's the piece we're missing from what we're hearing, the complaints and those types of things.
Yeah.
Typically, once we direct them to the company and they have to come up with some type of estimate or something like that, and they don't understand the ordinance or they don't think it's fair, at least this way, if there's some confusion, we can have the supervisor go there, explain to them why it wasn't picked up, or if it was missed, get the company back out there to pick it up, explain what they have to do to comply with the ordinance. We really don't have that role right now. It's
Right.
just strictly between the contractor and the resident.
I'm just a little confused, because I know we're talking about contractual obligations when it comes to picking up the yard waste. But according to these plans, we're looking at a plan, one with a claw truck, one without a claw truck. If we own the plow truck and we own, and the actual person that works for us, why are we still subject to their contract?
Well, you granted them that contract, so as long as that contract is running, we had talked about this before. If that's something and you all want to go back to doing this ourselves, it costs significantly more than this. We would have to buy all new trucks and we'd have to probably get another dozen employees. So we're just dealing with the issue right now that you've all brought forth, and it seems to be with bulk. And we kind of understand because it's not really us in the equation there, it's just the resident and the contractor. So we think at the $1.25 monthly, we think we can make some difference there. Will it be perfect? No, but we can have this person educate them about the ordinance and what's allowed, and we'll have a relationship, this person will have a relationship with the contractor and code enforcement, and, we think this could actually help.
I guess my question is simply, if there's bulk to be picked up and we have the means to do it, why are we looking at their contract as opposed to creating our own procedures as to, okay, if we have a claw truck and we want to pick up 5 cubic yards, we can do so because we own the truck. And the person that's actually operating the truck is operating, under our budget.
Correct.
And
And we'll have
there's a city
one
employee. So we would have the latitude to be able to go outside of that contract. So the contract wouldn't even be, it would not come into play.
Well, you'd have to change the ordinance, because the ordinance says 4 yards, first of all. So that's the law in the city, 4 yards. So the employees can't pick up any more than 4 yards, the way that you've all authorized the ordinance right now. So you'd have to bring the ordinance back, amend that, and have the public hearings in order to raise that. And there'd be additional costs for tipping fees and that type of thing, which we didn't budget for.
Was that same ordinance in place prior to us going to waste connections? Was the ordinance, that same ordinance in place? Was it the same?
I believe they were required to comply with our ordinance, and that's how they bid the contract.
Okay. Well, we had- okay.
I can add some clarification that the claw truck that is in this option is a much smaller claw truck in terms of the current claw truck that we have that's substantial, that picks up, major bulk items, tree trunks, whatever we need. But you can't even get that claw truck down some of these local roads.
All right.
Would this compliance supervisor work with Waste Connections? They have a supervisor. I've talked to him. Well, I really haven't talked to him. We've emailed. They have a current supervisor, I think Mr. Peterson.
It's different people sometimes.
Okay.
They change out.
Yeah, they do.
They may
different
change
folks.
out.
Yeah.
But would our compliance supervisor work, I guess, with them?
Directly with them
So
and the resident.
it kind of takes us out of the middle
Yes,
of
ma'am.
it.
All right.
Increases the level of service.
Rob? So if either one of these we choose, the budget millage is not going to change? No, it won't change. Huh?
I'm sorry, it won't change the millage rate, Mayor.
All right. that's what-
This would be one of the non-ad valorem assessments
All right.
that would go up, this would go up $15 next year.
For a year.
Right, so these costs would have to be fronted by some other fund in the city
Right.
and then paid back when we
Yeah.
actually get that cash from the
All right.
non-ad valorem assessments
All right,
next year.
so we have to decide, we need to vote on which one we want. Now, you can,
Does anybody want to speak on
So-
garbage? Does anybody want to speak on garbage?
No.
No?
nope. Now, we can wait on the vote till after they speak. So, all right, Mr. Moore, you already got one up here.
That was before this time.
All right, now, the lady back here had one too. And when she comes back in, will somebody get it and bring it up? Now, if you want to just talk about this issue on your thing, we'll call on you now. So, Mr. Moyer,
Yes, sir.
5 minutes.
I'll be much, much less. sir.
Okay.
My name is Jim Moyer. I live in Arden Park.
Microphone. Push the button right in front of you.
My name's Jim Moyer. Sorry. Is it better now? Okay. My name's Jim Moyer. I live in Arden Park. I totally agree with the mayor that this has been discussed for quite a while. I'm just going to, and this may not go over very well, but I'm just going to throw out a third possibility that only the compliance supervisor is hired, and part of that person's job is to gather a lot more information for a future decision. So that's my 2 cents, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, next, you want to speak on this issue? Yeah. Okay, I got your, Mr. Brent Dietrich.
Oh, yeah, now I know who you are.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Is this thing still on? Can you still hear me? Awesome. Is it on?
Is there a green light?
There is now. Okay, so I live on 2 acres on a lake, and as you know, as a Florida resident, we get hurricanes. All right, so if we don't decide to do anything today, right, status quo, is FEMA going to help us the minute we get a bad storm? And I say that because there's a storm coming this way. So I just want to know, when we got rid of our claw and the ability to service ourselves, beforehand I looked at it as this is the best city I've ever lived in because I could put tree trunks, whatever, it was gone, 1 week, completely gone. Now I pay a lot of taxes being over an acre on a lake, and I when that service went away and my taxes went up, I was like, this is something, a service being taken while my taxes are going up, right? Go ahead, Mike. Yeah, you can go ahead.
No, the taxes, we've lowered the millage rate every year. Now,
Property tax.
Yeah, it's property.
Which is great, I'm okay with that. I
But
mean,
that's
property tax
because
is
the
going-
county and everybody else raises theirs, but we've been lowering it for 7 years. So,
Well, and
I know, I know.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
I know that's gonna change, sounds like.
Nope.
No? It's going down again?
We hope.
With this thing, with this whole thing, it's going down? Congratulations.
trying.
I don't know how you did that, but
I think maybe if I could answer the question, I
Go ahead.
understand what your
Go ahead,
question is.
Andrew.
So typically what happens on something like that, we have to go out after the storm with spotters. So we go out with spotters, we take pictures, we estimate how many tons or how many cubic yards we have. That's what we'll report to FEMA, and it may be Waste Connections, it may not, who actually come and pick the stuff up. The last few times that FEMA reimbursed us, we had outside contractors actually picking the stuff up. We had some city crews, but I'd say probably 80 to 90% of it was outside contractors. But before they pick it up, we go out and we estimate, we take pictures, and that's what our reimbursement mechanism from FEMA.
And then are we billed by Waste Management now?
So we would be billed by Waste Connections for what they picked up.
And by we, I mean the city, like the owner of the property. If I have my tree fall down and I have a chainsaw and I chop that whole thing up and I put it on the side of the road,
Right.
is FEMA gonna charge me or is Waste Management gonna charge me? Is it free?
If it's something that FEMA's reimbursable, if they said they're gonna reimburse us
Right.
like in the past, yeah.
Well, so when
it's-
Michael came, I had a 30-foot laurel oak drop, and I cut the entire thing up and put it on the side of the road, and it was gone. So, and I didn't get a
Yeah.
bill from anybody.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is
So in that
is that gonna
situation-
change when hurricane season really gets into swing?
No, and if it's a designated storm and FEMA reimburses us, in that situation, it probably wasn't us picking it up anyways. It was
Okay.
one of our contractors who picked it up.
Okay.
We were probably out there and we took pictures of your property and we estimated how many cubic yards, and that was put into the calculation of how many yards we had to pick up and get paid for.
Well, and so because of that now, these guys that are coming every Friday, which I think is a horrible day of the week for me to get pickup, because that's generally when I start doing yard work. But these guys pick it up, but if it's over a certain amount of weight.
Right.
Right, so when you start
Right.
getting to these big pieces, not having something that can pick that up, that's gonna come out of my pocket from now on.
Right.
So,
So
I mean, that's gonna be
yeah.
a lot more, and I've talked to Waste Management, trust
Mm-hmm.
me, extensively, because nothing against you guys, but I just went right to the source of the problem, figured out what was going on, and that's why I'm here, because that is gonna be big. I mean, this is a mature community. It's been around for a long time. We've got a lot of big trees, and we get a lot of water and a lot of wind, and those things are gonna come down, and that's gonna be a strain on the community if they're the ones footing the bill for it. So, that's all I have to
All
say.
right, thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right, anybody else about this issue? All right, we'll go ahead and finish talking up here then. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen.
If this isn't a budget item, do we vote on it tonight, or is that something that's done during a regular meeting?
Yeah, we would have to have an ordinance and resolution. I think tonight you're just directing city staff.
Which one?
You want to do A or B or some variation so that we can put everything together, review the contracts, and then come back. We'll have the right, notice and the right resolution.
Yep, we had anticipated, when we first looked at this, there was a lot of talk of the claw trucks. So we knew after October 1st, if we went and we ordered the claw truck, we weren't going to get it for 6 months. So we included in the first year the costs and everything for 6 months. We could probably start that earlier if we didn't have to wait for the claw truck, but we're basically prepaying that first year through another fund of the city, and that would be paid back.
Well, Rob, you didn't bring it up, but I was at the convention, and I know Commissioner Wilson was there, but the claw truck people said you can lease it. You can lease it, and they'll have it here the next day. So I look into that. They said they can have it here the next day. I left that pamphlet here, so.
Yeah, typically our leases, when we say leases, Mayor, we're actually, it's a 4-year and we own it at the end.
Well, I
So,
know.
yes, typically we'd probably get maybe 6, even 7 years out of that.
Well, I don't have a
versus-
problem with buying it if that's what you want to do, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, if you lease it, they're going to bring
It's
it.
just
Lease
in
it
our-
enough till you get
yeah.
another one here.
In our experience in the last 2 years, vehicles take a long time, yeah.
All right, so commissioners, which one do you want?
Are we looking for a vote or consensus?
Well, we need a, vote.
Yeah, I think you could, either way is fine. You're
Consensus
just
is okay?
giving direction to the city staff.
On one is no, which one you want to carry?
And the reason I'm hesitant is because I think in most municipalities, and correct me if I'm wrong, the standard for pickup is pretty much the same. But what we've done in the past in our fair city is we've literally spoiled our residents. And because of that, now they have the expectation of having all this extra picked up. And so, you know, we did this to ourselves. We literally did this to ourselves. So now it's up to us to fix it. And so the question is, what's the best fix, right?
Well, if it doesn't matter for the budget, Rob, do we have to do that tonight? Either one of them, we can do it when we do the ordinance.
I don't think you have to do it tonight.
All right.
You know, we're
We don't-
going to need a consensus at some point in order to, after October 1st, Mayor, to start moving ahead. We probably have to do a resolution of necessity, and we have to do all those
All right.
things
So then we don't
typical
need to
for.
do that tonight.
Scott, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, not necessary to do anything tonight.
Scott,
Okay.
if they don't direct me to put funds into the budget for the purchase of the claw truck or the pickup truck or any of those things,
Well-
would I not have to come back for a budget amendment to do that later? I wouldn't have authority to spend on those items if they're not in the budget.
Well, it's figured into the budget already, either one
It's
of
not
them
in-
said. didn't it?
It's not in the budget.
This is in the enterprise fund, so I guess if you came to a consensus, you could change
All right,
it.
let's try the
But if you
consensus.
come into a consensus, we could at least put the expenditures in the enterprise fund, and we could put a revenue as a loan from another fund, and if we don't do it, then it doesn't really make too much of a difference.
All right, I'm gonna go with the one that's the $1.25 on the first one, the 200-something thousand dollar one. Consensus, I'm on that one.
That's the one I was thinking of, because we're not going to, if I'm correct, Rob, the public, our residents will still be charged for the overage,
Yes.
whether we have whether we have, God bless you, whether we have a claw truck or not.
Yes,
So-
in accordance with the ordinance, and
Right.
the way they should have been all along, but I guess I'm going to say before 2019, we weren't really doing that. We were allowing overages.
Yeah.
And our contract that we have with Waste Connections does not allow overages, so I think that's why a lot of people are getting caught with having extra stuff out there.
I've got Commissioner Wilson is the same as myself.
That's option 2, right?
Option B.
Option B.
125.
Option B, Commissioners?
I agree. B.
Okay.
I like option B.
All right.
Okay,
Option B.
so just to confirm, Mayor, the cost for option B will be included in the budget for solid waste. It won't affect your millage rate.
Right.
If you decide to change it or do something else, that's
Okay.
fine at this point,
All right.
because to fund it, we would just be loaning ourselves money from another fund.
All right,
Okay.
so you're done? All right. All right, I will now open the public hearing for any members of the general public. So I have some more. You already spoke, so you're good to go. All right, Jim Moyer.
Good evening. It's working. Okay, my name's Jim Moyer. I live in Arden Park. I'm newly appointed adjutant for the Ocoee American Legion Post 109. I've been informed by, long before my time, that the city used to give $500 to Post 109 every year. I don't know when it stopped, but I'm asking for that to be reinstated into the budget, allowing, or providing the post $500 annually. In a $112 million budget, $500 is not a lot, but to our very small post, it's quite a bit, and it'd be very important to receive that every year. I have the utmost confidence in your finance director that they could make an adjustment and find the right line item to put it on for this $500.
Buttering up don't count.
And that was the small buttering up, Mr. Mayor. And I also want to commend the finance director
There you
for reducing the millage
Yeah.
rate down to the 4.95, correct? In between the two meetings. So congratulations. So I'm humbly requesting that the commission consider an annual $500 stipend or whatever semantics you want to use to give to the Ocoee American Legion Post 109. Thank you for your time and God
All
bless.
right, I'm going to where I'm going to let him speak to it.
I did write you an email,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Moyer, and what I said was what I believe that we had decided here, I believe that probably when that $500 was allocated to the Legion was because they had provided a merit board application, which is what I wrote you in an email. And that was when we had a merit board that used to, clubs, organizations could submit an application for a project they were doing, and the merit board made a decision. That's most likely where the $500 was coming from, as I wrote in my email.
Yes, ma'am.
But now we have a discretionary fund, and that's a choice, in my opinion, of each commissioner, whether they want to, what club, what organization, what group they want to give to. Because we, I think as a commission, had decided that we were not going to have organizations come up here one at a time, because if we, in my opinion, by doing one organization, I can name probably 100 more that will come forward asking for $500. The band, I mean, everyone running something. So that's, to me, was always a discretion, that would be a discretionary fund, because we haven't given money out. The merit board was disbanded years ago. And that's probably where that 500 stopped. That's what I wrote, again, in my email.
Anybody else? Any other body?
I tend to agree with Commissioner Wilson on this one. I think that you would probably get 500, you may get more than 500 if you actually approached each commissioner and the mayor separately under a separate letterhead or just an email requesting those funds annually. You may get more than $500.
And, oh, go
Anybody
ahead,
else?
sir.
No, I agree.
I know I'm a paid member of that, so I
Yes,
don't
sir.
really want to
Yes,
vote
sir.
for something that I'm a member of. So I do believe you'll get the 500. It'll come through one of the discretionary funds. Because she's right, then they'll start coming back asking for 500 for this one, 500 for that one. And I think it's a good thing. The American Legion does a lot of good stuff. So, like I said, let's see if come October 1st, we can come up with $500.
I was just fulfilling
I
my
know.
duty.
Okay,
sir.
I know.
And as an accountant, I'm just going to make a quick comment. This is budget time, but again, as an accountant, budget amendments that could take place during the year could be just as important as approving the budget at this time. So I would encourage public participation when budget amendments come forth. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. All right. Tanya Doriska.
Hello, Commissioners, Mayor. My name is Tanya Doriska. I am a member of the Human Relations Diversity Board. I came to the meeting on the 15th, I believe it was, and talked about funds that the HRDB needed in order to provide community events, minority and cultural events that we would like to preside over. And I think there was a little bit of concern about the motion that was made. I made a request to our city clerk to get definition of the motion that I made at the HRDB meeting and what I mentioned at our meeting last week, or on the 15th. And I'm just going to read that motion today. The motion was to move to sanction the HRDB to go before the city commission to request the proposed $100,000 to be used for any approved cultural event during the year. And it was moved by myself and seconded by Member Mellon. So when I came on the 15th and requested those funds, I did them on behalf of the HRDB as I was instructed. And I appreciate the approval of those funds for the uses for our community cultural events. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, when I get through with these, then we can talk, okay? All right, next was Brad Lomnick.
That's scary.
Good evening, Commissioners. Brad Lomnick, Veronica Place, and I'm also an HRDB board member. Tired of saying of all the boards I'm on, jeez. So 3 things. First off, I didn't make it to the first budget meeting, but if I was here, I would have said we've spent a lot of time in our HRDB meetings talking about things we needed. Doug Gaines told us we had money for the Ocoee Remembrance, we had money for Fiesta de Colores, we had money for Martin Luther King, we had money for every project that they've ever wanted to do, which we've done no other projects besides that. But now we're talking about adding an additional $50,000 for projects we don't know what they are, for projects we don't know how to do, and I can't even get half those board members to volunteer to do anything for LGBTQ, for women. They don't want to do any of that stuff. Once Ocoee Remembrance is over, they don't want to do anything else. I've said, let's get champions to champion a month, to bring it to the commission to say, hey, here's what's going on this month. They told me they're volunteers. They don't have to do those things. How are you going to give them another $50,000 for programs they don't even know what they're going to do, and they don't want to? They want to do the programs they're doing now, and they want to put more money toward them. So I'm just saying that's one part. The other part is we have this ARPA fund. It's a gift. It's a one-time thing. We cannot take money that we've put aside for a fire station, and I want to make sure we're using the right technology, the right termination, the right words. It's not an outdoor firing range. It is a regional educational training center for police. It's an indoor-outdoor firing range that we'll be able to use for everybody around in the counties. It could probably net us $600,000 to $700,000 in extra capital. That's very important. The Edgewater deal, it's some grass and an overhang with some outside shots. That's a different deal. Do not take this money from that and give it to something where we have no plan, nothing. Next year, we're going to have to budget the $100,000 again, and we don't have it. It's going to go in the budget. If you're going to continue to vote for it, if you're going to continue to let it go through, I would ask that we put some sort of amendment on it to say it's a one-time deal. Don't make it part of the, I don't know if you can make it to where it's not part of the budget, to where it's something we can look at this year. But if you make it part of the budget, it's just going to get buried next year. Nobody's going to talk about it. $100,000 is just going to rip through. So we had $50,000 already set up to take care of every event we've ever wanted to do in this city so far. But there's nothing that has ever been talked about to help all of the different diversities. We just talk about 2 or 3 diversities and that's it. And they don't want to do anything else. And I've been on this board now for 6 or 7 months and I've seen it. I've watched videos and I've listened to the minutes from before I was on this board. That's all they want to do. So what else did I want to say? Why I think that's it.
All right.
Unless you guys have any questions I can answer about that.
After everybody gets through, then I'm going to let them talk.
All right, thank you.
And I think you're the last one. So now, the issue was, we've solved Mr. Moyer's. So the other one is the HRDB funding thing. So, okay. Well, she's gone. It's all right. Babysit. Can't take that.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Vivian Light Johnson, and I live in Ocoee Landings here in Ocoee. I am not a part of any of the boards. I do attend meetings, and the board in question, the HR, whatever the letters are, I've attended those meetings. And as a citizen, I've been very troubled attending the meetings. I'm not sure if what is being said to people when they are part of a group. But I feel as though listening that some people are there to disrupt, not to work together. I was very troubled at the last meeting that Ms. Driscoll was talking about because a motion was made, the motion was passed, and the chair announced she wasn't going to represent it. And now I hear a member get up and talk as though they weren't in the meeting. That's very troubling to me as a citizen. I fully support that they get the money, because what I heard in that discussion was not that we didn't want to do it, is we didn't have any money. And as a citizen, I've been sitting here listening and seeming as though this is the committee that seems to always be begging for when they want to do something. What they said is, we would love to plan things, we don't have any money to plan anything. And to just get up and make a presentation and get a proclamation didn't mean much. And I agree with that. So for me, if this is a board that is expected to represent the community, and this commission has asked them to do that, then certainly they should be funded to do that. And so I would support that you continue to offer this to them. And it's very troubling to hear someone talk about, we have to raise the millage because we're going to offer some money to the diversity board. When I do a budget, I know how to, you move things and you do what you need to do. And I applaud the finance director for doing just that. So I want to support that, and at the same time, I'm going to continue to attend these different meetings, and as a citizen, hope that folks who volunteer to hold these positions understand that teamship is important and representing community is important and not a political agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, where's your paper? You got it? Okay. All right, so commissioners, the item we need to talk about now is, what we just said, the diversity board money, HRDB funding. It stays like it is, or we change it? Comments, if there is any.
I think I made it very clear at the last meeting that I felt that it was budgeted with the $50,000. There was a lot of discussion that happened during that, saying that other boards could use the money if they wanted it, and it would be available. I heard many things at the last meeting that other boards would be available to use that money. I've never heard where another board can come into another budget and take the money. And then who dictates how that other board uses the money? And how do we dictate if the $100,000 is allocated? And just so you know, that nothing ends up, even though motions were made, tonight is the final time that we get to hash out whatever is allocated. But if I was, and then correct me if I'm wrong, I heard that other boards could use the money, and I want to know who was telling them they can use it. How does another board get that money? Because each board is allocated a certain amount, I believe. Mark, what is it, 1,000 or 2,000 for recreation? 1,000? 1,000 is recreation gets that $1,000, as in COPD and CACOFD, which is the two fire department and police department budgets. They get $1,000. I'm going to look out there. They get $2,000 for fire. Police too? Okay. So there's questions I have, because it seems like there's a lot of loose ends here, to me. And then I heard that we as a commission would decide how much would go to each function. I heard that at a previous meeting. There's just a lot of loose ends here that I don't understand. So again, I was not in favor of going to 100,000. I think 50,000 was what the support services had in their budget, and We heard that, yes, that was adequate by one member of your board. And so, to me, there's just so many questions. And so I'm not willing to go with $100,000 because I think there's a lot more that has to be solved before any of that can happen.
All right, anybody else? Comments?
I have a question. Mr. Lomneck said that he believed that next year it'll automatically go in the budget. That is not true, correct? It's not going to automatically become a line item in next year's budget.
Now, typically, we wouldn't do that. Or if we thought you wanted it in there and we did, just to balance the budget, we'd let you know that it was in there, and we just assumed, and you could do with what you want at that point. But typically, I don't think something of that level we would include, but we would certainly let you know if it was in there.
Okay, and also, if the HRDB does not provide this commission with festivals, programs, whatever, that are acceptable to us, they cannot spend the money on their own, correct? The money that's spent out of that $100,000, we have to approve.
You want to take this one, Becky? I'm not sure what the process is that time, because there's small purchases that they make, shirts, and those things, so
I'm talking about a $25,000 festival.
They advise us.
Well, this would be the first time, I think, that they've had this that was applicable to different possible festivals. So I think in the abundance of caution, if that request came through, we would probably have to bring it to the commission in order to spend those funds.
Okay.
We haven't gotten those in the past because they had a line item for basically one or two that you'd all approved.
Right.
So it wasn't that much of an issue, but yeah, I think it would be brought forth. And I think that's what you would probably want if they wanted to spend 25 of whatever you give them. I think we'd be expected to bring that forward to you for your approval.
I'm gonna wait. Good. Doug?
Yeah, Doug Gaines, Mayor and Commissioners, good evening. They're an advisory board, so they're still going to have to come to you with each program to get your approval. You guys are the final approval. They're just an advisory board.
Yeah.
So if the commission does not approve any or all of the programs that are presented to us, at the end of next budget year, that money will go back into the general fund, correct? Okay.
All right. Commissioner, you got any comments? I heard you didn't.
That's all.
So we have, I've sat in the last HRDB meeting, and I want to thank Mr. Riska for bringing clarity to what the motion was and how that entire board voted, with the exception of one member. And she executed that motion at our last budget meeting on the 15th, according to the way she was tasked to do so. What I'm hearing here is we're talking about culturally diverse events. So there's a lot of conversation going on about this additional $50,000, and I brought this up at our first budget workshop. And the reason that I brought it up is because I'm sitting in a meeting, an HRDB meeting, and I heard Mr. Lumnick say, we need to talk about more than the things we're talking about. And I agreed with him. I agreed wholeheartedly. But the problem was, we can talk about all these things that we want to do, but if there's no funding to do it, then we're just talking. And that's exactly what it is. We're just talking. And we all know that talking doesn't get anything done. We have to roll our sleeves up and do the work. And in some cases, when it comes to these type of events, we have to roll our sleeves up, do the work, but we also need funding to do that. And that's the reason why I asked to increase for $100,000. In these meetings, I've never heard anyone but one member in the entire time I've been going to these meetings say that they're there as a volunteer and they're not there to work. That was one person I heard say that who's no longer on that board.
The chairman said it.
Shh. Good. Brad, no. We'll talk when it gets through. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. And again, I've only heard one member, and if if the chairman actually did say that, then there needs to be something else. We need to have another conversation. If our chairperson is making making those statements, then we need to have another conversation. But nonetheless, since I didn't hear that, I cannot comment on that. I can only comment on what I've heard. I only heard one member state that they're there as a volunteer, and if they want to do some work, that we would have to pay them. That member is no longer on that board anymore. So as far as I know, every member on that board is ready to roll up their sleeves and do the work. Now, my understanding as to the way that this was supposed to work is that when we talk about other advisory boards and how they come into play with the HRDB and how they would actually interact with them with this additional funding, you may have the police advisory board, the fire advisory board, or any other advisory board that wants to put on an event that would include some type of multicultural component. So they can actually go to the HRDB and say, well, hey, I have an idea. I want to do an event that's going to include Bali music, or it's going to include Latin music or Latin culture. So I want to team up with you guys, and we may need an additional $10,000. They would team up with the HRDB, put together a plan, bring it before this commission as an advisory board, and this commission will either approve or disapprove that particular event. Just that simple. So there's no need to convolute these conversations with this board taking money from that board. No, it's very, very simple. The money is set aside for culturally diverse events, and if there's another advisory board that wants to do that, then they can team up with HRDB to actually advise this commission as to what they want to do as it pertains to a culturally diverse event. Now,
Right.
one of the things that I think we're missing, and we're missing it because we don't understand the importance of the arts and culture. The simple fact that we're even having this conversation tells me that we don't understand the impact of the arts and culture and what it could do for our city. How much tax dollars it can bring into our city by bringing in the arts and culture. If you look at Orange County, you look at Orlando, you look at Ocoee, look at the cities around us and think about the culturally diverse events that they have and the numbers they bring in, the tax dollars it brings in, the hotels that gets booked out, heads and beds, the restaurants. That is a benefit for us. We're sitting there talking about millage rates and we're talking about lowering our taxes. Well, that's one way to do it. That's one way to bring in funding for lowering our taxes, for fixing sidewalks, for repairing our streets. Bring in some multicultural events, bring in the arts, and see what it would do for our city.
All right. All right. I'll make a couple of comments. Speak for yourself about the arts and the culture. I understand. I imagine some of the other ones up there do too. But I'm going to go with what I think the chairman of the committee said. She was here and made the comments about the 50,000. I know if we have to have more than that, if they come up with the other events, then we can come back to the commission, as we've done before, and address that issue. So, but if it passes, it passes. Like I said, my thought process is the chairman was here, she made the comments, she stated it, and, you know, it's not the 100,000 that we're talking about raising the millage rate. That's not what was brought up. That's not about raising the millage rate. That's about doing stuff for the city. You cannot give the money out, which we've done, before the functions happen. If you do, then you're leading yourself into some problems. Anytime, and everybody brings up the music fest, so before it's said again, I'll say it tonight. You want to see what we do with the music fest, go to the city clerk's office and pull the records of what is made. If we spent $300,000 last year, we turned in $15,000 more than what we spent. So you can get those records, but you do not get money before you get the receipts or before that person's contract comes due. We don't front the money. When we get those people under that contract, we bring the checks to the day of the function and give them the checks. We don't prepay people. It's not for a profit. And I don't get into all that, but I'm telling you, the music thing is a 15,000 total for the weekend people. Way more than anything else brings in here. And the citizens enjoy it. But we also run it with the volunteers, and we go raise money. Just like raising money the other night they were talking about for travel. Go put and raise sponsorships. That's what we have to do with the Music Fest. If you want to be part of it, and they're volunteers, they go out and raise funds. So we need to, I'm done with that, so we can decide what we're doing with that. If it's going to change, make a change. If it's not going to change, let's vote.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we need a vote. I think we already voted on
We
this
did, but
issue. So I don't think we need a vote unless
That's what I'm
someone's.
trying to find out now, Commissioner, if you'll let me finish. I'm gonna
Okay.
try to find out, okay? If we need to or not. So anybody else, anybody got a change to it?
I just have a comment. When you say that they do the work and they roll up their sleeves, why did we before, in a meeting about a month ago, why did a PR firm come up and ask to do, they were going to do different things for the event, for the remembrance? Why was there a PR firm involved if people are gonna roll up their sleeves and do the work? There's just too many questions I have.
All right.
That's, maybe Mr. Oliver knows.
Well, we can keep going.
I'm sorry, you asked me a question?
Let's go with, we're done discussions.
Okay.
The vote's already been made, like Commissioner Brinson said, unless one of the commissioners is on the prevailing side wants to change it. If you don't, then it's settled. We've talked it to death. So, does anybody want to change it? It's got to be one of the three people that voted for it. So if nobody does, go and gone. All right. Just,
Do I understand, Mayor, that the way that the vote went, that the discussion happened, that they would have to come before us for
Yes.
each function?
Yes.
And get our approval for that amount of money? And then it was available to other boards. If they wanted to come to us, I assume come to us with a culturally diverse or a arts event,
Yeah, I'd have-
that they would come to us? Is that what I understand? Is that going into this? Because I'll make that motion if it's gonna stick with the 100,000, that I think that each individual,
you can make that motion and we can.
each individual, that's gonna be my motion, that each individual item or event has to come to us with a business plan for us to make the approval before they actually,
There's nothing wrong with that.
because
I
other,
don't know if that's proper.
you don't think that's proper?
I don't know if that's, I think that's in violation of Robert's Rules of Order. Because the motion was, it was motioned and it was seconded and it was passed. But now, in a roundabout way, you're trying to go in and change that vote.
They asked for that, they told us that. If we go back to the minutes, I believe that we
But it
were,
should be in the motion.
we motioned for the 100,000, but you
Right.
didn't motion for the particulars. And
Scott, what say you?
Make a motion.
Yeah, I think there was confusion because I think the original vote was the 100,000 was going to the HRDB board. And then subsequent discussion was that was now, it was supposed to be available for other boards to utilize those funds. But I don't think we ever voted on that or amended the prior vote. Right now, I believe the motion that passed was that the $100,000 would be utilized by the HRDB board.
So can you make a
So
motion?
can I make that motion? To, that.
Yeah,
That was
look.
all discussion that was brought to us prior.
We are still talking about the tentative budget. We haven't adopted a final budget. It's still, I believe, still open for discussion as to even the dollar figure in that amount, because we haven't finalized anything at this point. So I guess I don't think that it's necessary that that the motion be brought up by someone that was on the prevailing side. I think it can still open for discussion and consideration on this board, because we're still talking about prior to approval of the final budget. And this one, as I understand it, this isn't really a financial impact. We still have the $100,000 out
Just
there.
requires them to bring certain things.
Do okay, the other night you said we could not because I, again, tried to make the motion just to let it go back to what is in the support services budget. And you said that I could not because I was.
That was
not-
at the same meeting. So
Right.
we voted at the same meeting. So if we were going to do a reconsider on that item, which would take place at the same meeting, then it would have to be someone from the prevailing side to make that motion.
But tonight's a different night.
Tonight, we're going to consider the final budget, as opposed to, we're going to finalize the tentative budget and then do the final budget. So I think everything is it's still open for amendments. It's still open for adjustment on the millage rate. So I think but as I understand it, what you're wanting to do doesn't affect any figures. It doesn't affect the millage rate. It doesn't affect the amount that goes in the budget.
So it's just procedural.
Procedures.
Yeah, I think if, Commissioner Wilson, you tell me, you're saying you're okay with the $100,000. Well, you may not be okay with the $100,000, but.
Not really.
But you're asking that we do, the procedure for that would be they bring each of the items, come with a plan, and that money be available for other boards other than just the HRDB board.
Yes, that you would, because what we're hearing and we've heard is that they want to make it available to the other boards and that they would come before, this is what I understand, that they would come before us for each individual event and we would make the final decision regarding the funding for that item. Because, and I'm saying this because we, a few weeks ago, weren't giving $100,000 for the remembrance. It was asked for by the person who got it from the PR firm and was talking about, and so what I'm saying is that at this point, the $100,000 needs to be available to other boards, as it was said, and that we would have to approve each individual project, event, with the business plan of how the money is being spent. That's our decision as a commission. So that opens it up to other programs to run arts and cultural and culturally diverse items, projects.
But if Doug Gaines, could you come up? Because I think that's what we're talking about now. I think it's already in place. If the HRD, if the Human Relations and Diversity Board wants to spend money, a significant amount of money, $15,000, $20,000, what's the procedure?
They're just an advisory board. They're still going to have to come before you. If the Police Advisory Board wants to use that money, they're just an advisory board. They're going to have to come to you and ask for it, final approval. So that's all already in place.
How come last year no one came before us? I've never had anyone come before us from an advisory board. They had a line item and they used their money. I've never seen an advisory board come up before us in all my years and
Usually-
ask us to bring us a plan and say, this is what I want to spend.
They have line items for like the Martin Luther King parade. There's a set amount set aside for that.
Correct.
Right, so
Correct.
those items in past budgets, I think historically, they just run with them and do it and stay within the budget. Here, we're talking an extra 50,000 that really isn't earmarked for any event. And I think that's what Doug is saying. If they're gonna come up with something to go above and beyond the line items that are in the budget already, then that would require city commission approval.
So we can say at this point, they have I hate to say they, HRDV board has approximately just around $50,000, I think it's 55, for events. And
45,000.
they're marked, 45, and they're marked for remembrance, essay,
Martin Luther King event.
and Martin Luther King event. Okay, then why are we putting 50,000 in HRDV and not have a line item of $50,000 for us, for any board to come before us for a cultural event, some type of cultural event, that we make a decision on? And if HRDV wants to come back and say, we want to put on, as Brad mentioned, for whatever, it could be Hispanic Awareness Month, or LB, I know I'm gonna get these letters mixed up. Somebody say it for me. Okay.
LGBTQ plus.
LGBTQ?
Plus.
Did I get it right? Okay. So if someone wants to put that event on, that 50,000 could be put aside for whoever wants to come up and do that. If that's an event that we're sorry, getting all our letters. Human Relations and Diversity, so we don't get everyone confused. If they want to put an event on, they can come back to us in that $50,000 pot. I would have no problem with that.
I'm pretty sure for the November Remembrance event, they've come to you every year. This will be the third year they've come to you with the amount.
And I think.
But the MLK, I don't think, there's a,
Yeah, and I think we're talking semantics, right? Because the money is the money, regardless of what the figure is. The procedures are the procedures outside of those events that are the common events every year. So they have to come before us for our approval for these events. So whether that money is parked in support services, whether that money is parked over there with a line item of HRDB or whatever, it's still, the money's still the money, and the procedures to be able to disperse those funds is still the same. So I'm not understanding I don't understand I just don't understand.
But they've never come before us before.
Sure they have. They've come before us many times.
This last time they came before us because they wanted an additional $50,000 to run the event. So that was the first time. Otherwise, they've used the line item to go with what they're doing.
When I sat on HRDB, because I sat on we came before the board to ask for additional monies as well. So they come before the board
But that's additional monies.
because they didn't have any money budgeted. They didn't have enough money budgeted. That was the whole purpose.
All right, let's see if we can bring this to a close here. You got a motion, if you want to add anything or add, what?
Can I restate it?
Yeah,
I want to make the motion that HRDB would get the line item that's in the support service budget, and for the additional $50,000 to be put in another line item for any board to come before us to ask for a particular event with a plan for us to finance it.
but any board, does that mean that HRD,
They want to,
they want to add to that, they could go there too?
They can come back just as police, fire, recreation. Hope I'm not missing any boards.
What is it, 55,000? Okay.
All right, she made the motion, do the second. Not,
I'll second that.
seconded by Commissioner Ferstner. All right, we've discussed it, so.
No, there's
Read
additional
that-
discussion. There's additional
Hang on a
discussion.
minute, I want him to read the motion off.
All right, the motion is the additional 55,000 that was designated to the HRDB board, those funds could be utilized by other advisory boards, including the HRDB board, and that, I just lost my train of thought. So, could be used by the other boards, and what was the other part of that?
It's on a separate line item.
Yeah, so, and the use of those additional funds would be approved by the city commission.
When a business plan is presented, or a plan.
Right, for a specific event, utilizing those funds would be approved by the city commission.
$100,000.
Yeah, it still is, but it's.
Still $100,000. All right. We got a motion.
Additional discussion?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, again, we're still beating around semantics here. Again, the advisory board, they come up with a plan, they come before the commission, and they make a request as a advisory board. And that's what they do. But let's look at the definition of the HRDB. Let's look at the mission. Their mission and their objective of the Human Relations Diversity Board, objective is to promote understanding, respect, goodwill, and equality among citizens. That's just a tagline there. But if other departments want to put on an event, such as, let's just say the Parks and Rec want to put on a doggy show, that does not meet the criteria for a diverse event as far as human diversity is concerned. But if they come to us and say, well, you know what, let's put together a let's put together a Hispanic Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage program or event. Then what that does is it falls along the realms of the mission of the Human Relations Diversity Board. So that board simply just goes to the HRDB and say, hey, I got an event that you guys can help or co-sponsor with us. And then they come to the commission as two boards and say, we want to come together to put this on, and we can either approve it or we can disapprove it. Now, the business of creating different line items, that's just silly. Why don't we just create one line item, set it aside for the HRDB, any other organization or any other advisory board wants to do anything in the lines of human relation and diversity or cultural events, then go to the HRD because that's what they do. That's what they were designed to do. Because if everybody's going to be able to do that, then what's the sense of having a HRDB board? That's what they're there for. These boards should partner with them and say, okay, this is what we want to do. Let's get together. Let's put a plan together. Go before the commission, get approval or disapproval for it. It's just that simple.
All right.
Very
All right.
simple.
Motion's been made and second.
I have a comment. And this is really about the integrity of the vote, right? If an advisory board, or even if this commission, we vote on something, and whether we approve of the vote or the results of the vote or not, we have to get behind it because it went up to the vote. So I think it's not just bad form, it's improper for any member of that Human Relations Diversity Board to have voted for a member of their board to come and present to us, and then a member comes here and says, no, I don't think that's proper, I don't think we need that, and then the chair has the audacity to come here, even though the vote was put to, well, the issue was put to the vote on that board, and say something contrary to what the board voted on. We are starting to tread in dangerous waters when we start ignoring the integrity of the vote. And I just have a problem with trying to do the end around, trying to get, the money is still the money. We're still talking about $100,000 when it comes down to it. And no other board, and I've sat in my chair on this commission, on this dais, and told every board out there, the budget workshops are coming up. Make your requests. Make your ask. This is the time to make your ask. Don't wait until we get to the workshops or to the hearings to start making your ask. They didn't do that, but yet here we are making the ask for them. If the police advisory board or the fire board or any other board out there didn't make their ask, that's on that advisory board. We up here, but there's an advisory board that actually made the ask. And here we are saying, no, what we're going to do is set aside money. Their ask is for the human relations and diversity issues, those programs, those events, not for some other event. If the fire, if police, if any other board in this city wants to partner with the HRDB to put on a board, put on an event, by all means, go to HRDB. Right. And I would suspect that the HRDB will be welcoming in that partnership. However, it is improper for us to sit here after we made a vote of increasing that budget to $100,000, and then we try to do an end around because you don't like it. The vote has been motioned, seconded, and voted upon, and now we're trying to do an end around. I don't understand that. I don't understand that concept. I just don't understand. Get behind. There's many things that we voted on in this commission that I disagree with. And I did not go back and start bad mouthing to the public and anyone else that, oh, you know, they screwed that up. That was a bad. In leadership is once the decision is made, you may not like it, but get behind it. That's leadership. Well, that's what we're doing up here is poor leadership.
And I did not go.
That is poor leadership. That is poor. You're bad mouthing it right here in front of God and everybody. Right. This is public. This is a public forum. It is not up. I'm not finished.
Okay.
This is something that we have to make sure that if we talked about HOA having someone come before the commission, and we can't worry about them, but we have to worry about the way we vote. We have to. This is what If we don't honor our vote, then why are we here? I just don't get it. This is poor form on us. This shows us that we don't have to agree, but once we put it to a vote and it passes, then it has passed.
Well,
That's all I gotta say.
well, I'd say what he just said a while ago, and I don't care either way here, but he just said that's not true. The night's still open for that. Not that that was the final thing the other night. He just said that, and she's made a motion. If the motion carries, then we'll go with it. If it doesn't carry, we won't. So the money, and I beg to differ with you, sir, about the chairman of that committee. She has great integrity. She's a great lady. She does a great job. Just because she don't agree with other people don't mean she did something wrong.
Oh, she did something wrong.
No, she didn't.
When that board voted, that board voted, and then she came back and went against that board. That's wrong.
Commissioner.
You can't tell me that's not
Commissioner,
wrong.
I'm talking now. You told me not to talk when you were talking.
No, I didn't.
So we're gonna
I never
vote.
told you that.
We got it. Yeah, you did.
I never told you.
I know. But if it's your issue, it's bad. If it ain't your issue, it ain't bad, folks, and that's how it works. The money's the money with the city. It's the city's money. It's the citizens' money. So as long as we're accountable for it. Commissioner Wilson made the motion. We got a second. The money's still gonna be in the accounts. The money will still be $100,000. All right, if you're for the motion that Commissioner Wilson just did, you vote
Well, I don't think it's
You-
registered yet.
yes. You vote yes. And that still leaves the $100,000.
Well,
So let's vote. All right, that carries. All right, now let's move on to the next one. I'll tell you what, we'll drag it out. Whew. All right, we're down to,
It doesn't change the millage or doesn't change the percentage.
No.
So I think we go to section E.
Section E. Section E. Adoption of the final millage rate. We will now consider adoption of the final millage rate by ordinance. Prior to voting on the final millage rate, I will have the city attorney summarize and read the title of the final millage rate ordinance.
All right, the name of the taxing authority is the City of Ocoee. The rollback millage rate is 4.6361 mils. The percentage by which the proposed millage rate exceeds the rollback rate is 7%.
7%.
The millage rate proposed by ordinance is 4.9500 mils. An ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, establishing a final millage rate of 4.9500 mils for ad valorem taxes for the City of Ocoee for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, providing for millage adjustment, providing for collection of taxes, providing for a 7% increase in millage rate over the rollback rate, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right, you do?
Yep.
All right, now I'm going to open the public hearing up for the public to speak with respect to the proposed final millage rate. We're going to talk now about the final millage rate. Anybody, you have to fill the form out and talk. That's what it's about.
We're referring to the 4.973.
No,
4.9500.
4.9500.
I might say that again because I.
4.9500. All right, no comments now. All right, closing the public hearing, calling upon the city commission for any further comments or questions with respect to the proposed final millage rate.
I have something that I need to bring up, that is not pertaining to the proposed final millage rate. It was actually on the item E, and it says if there's no amendments, go to the next section, which is section E.
Well, wait till we get there.
Well, I think we're already there. You're at E, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go back because we skipped that part. I was waiting on you to make that announcement, but you did not make that announcement. So I do have one item. I want to talk about the youth council. I will be remiss if I didn't. The youth council now has a total of $15,000. We carried $20,000 in the budget for the youth council over the past few years. And at the last meeting, we decided, it was decided that we would take away $5,000 of money that could be used for travel. And now it's $5,000 sitting there. I need, there's two items I want to talk about for clarifications purposes. One, I believe that motion passed stating that the $5,000 can only be used for local travel. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, I need to make a motion that we increase the youth council budget back to $10,000 for travel that goes beyond local travel, which will allow our kids to go to Tallahassee or to the Florida League of Cities. So I'd like to make that motion.
First, all right, do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Is there a second on that motion?
I'm asking, sir. I'll take care of that, okay?
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Brinson. All right, any discussion?
I'm the one that made that motion the other night, and I personally feel that local travel, where going to Tallahassee, I never felt that was appropriate, and I think that you can visit your representatives and your senators right here locally. And so I think my thought with the youth council was they were learning civics, and I think we should live local. That's my opinion.
All right.
Well, we do live local.
Anybody,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Any more comments?
That's what I was going to give you some more comments.
All right, here's, I know, but I really got a problem, I don't have a problem with going to Tallahassee, Commissioner. And I know, I have a problem going to the League of Cities if it's out down in Miami or places. I do have a problem with that. But I don't have a problem, I think the whole purpose of the youth council is to give them the benefit of and it could be they're in locals, but you really get to see the action of what the state does at the state. And I think if we did it with the right way, under the city auspices of the bus and all that stuff, but I don't have a problem with that. I can't make an amendment to it. I would make an amendment that we had 2,500 instead of 5,000. That way it covers the Tallahassee part. So.
I have a question for the youth
I can't
coordinator.
make that though, because I'm holding the
Can you
gavel.
come to the podium? I got a question for you that only you could probably answer.
Will you, do me a favor, will you? And I know you want to be the mayor, but I'm the mayor, so let me decide who goes and who don't go, okay?
Okay, well, I have a question, so.
No, I know, but
I'll
you
ask her to
tell me
come up.
that, and then I'll tell the person that.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Okay, that's fine.
You
All
got,
right, so, I want to ask a simple question. The youth council, where do you get your mission, your vision, your marching orders? Is this something that you guys made up, that you created, or does it come from somewhere else? You took the guidelines for how you guys operate from where?
From the Florida League of Cities.
Okay. So in the
our
Florida League of
guidelines.
Cities, are there any other youth councils that attend the Florida League of Cities?
Of course there are. In 2020, there were 10 out of the 27 that attended. There were over 125 kids there. The students had the opportunity to go to the Supreme Court, Florida Supreme Court, do mock trials, went to the state capitol. It's just a beautiful experience, and it gives them the opportunity. We're trying to teach civics, so we want our kids to see what that means at a higher level than local. Local, we talk to all of the departments here at the city, so they get an idea what government does locally, but we also need them to see it at a higher point also. And Rosemarie, just like I said the other night, you're there every year, and we get to spend time with you also because you are a local official that is there at the state level. And it's always a great way for the kids to understand that even locally you can do something more.
I want to make this comment. Like I said, I would add 2,500, but I also, why, I keep saying this, but people don't pay attention. Volunteers also have to help raise money. So I know my two granddaughters are on there now, and I guarantee they'll be coming to see me because they're going to raise money for the functions to do. There is nothing wrong with them raising the money to go to Tallahassee.
And,
Not just because we got to take it from here. Now.
and Mayor, we already started
No,
that process
I know.
with the
Let
kids.
me,
Okay.
let them raise the other part of the money. It's a thing they ought to learn to do. It's like everything we do, let them learn how to do that. That's part of what they're gonna learn when they get into the adult life. So we're not gonna keep talking over it because we've
That's
talked
fine.
enough. So if I have to hand him the gavel or somebody else can make, you got the gavel
It's
already.
already been seconded.
I'll make an amendment to her motion that we had $2,500 that would work towards going to Tallahassee. But I also put in there that you help raise matching funds.
All right, that's fine. The kids are fine with
that
that.
way-
We've already started talking about a spirit night, so I hope everybody in
know.
this
I'm
office,
just-
in this audience and listening will help us get there.
We-
I gotta change the motion.
There's functions we have, if we asked you to come with your group, they could get money. I mean, they can get paid to do certain things for helping with the different functions we do at the city.
That's fine.
So
We already do the community
I'll amend the
service.
motion to make it $2,500 and
You can't
work
amend my
out the
motion.
way.
This is, Oliver had a
You can't amend my
motion.
motion.
I'm amending them. Who
That's
made that
Robert
motion?
Rules of Order. You can't amend my motion.
Didn't you make a motion?
No.
No, I haven't made a
Oh.
motion.
I made-
Oliver made the motion and it was seconded.
For
Then I
what?
can
For
make another
increasing-
motion to them.
You're right.
Yeah,
The
don't-
motion was to increase it by $5,000.
Why don't you just let me amend the motion to just so we don't have to go through all that. I'll amend the motion. I agree with that, but I also want some clarity to make sure that these kids are allowed to go to Tallahassee,
Long
but
as
they're
it-
also allowed to go to the Florida League of Cities,
I'm
which
not-
governs their standard operating procedures.
Voting on. Let's, just don't grab everything at once. Let's start with this and see how it works. We can always come back. You know,
Well, we
you
definitely need to
can't
be able to
greedy.
travel.
Let's,
Well, the next
let's,
Florida League of Cities is
let's
local.
start with the Florida League of Cities.
Yeah, that one
Florida
is-
League of Cities is in Tallahassee.
Correct.
When we go up there, you guys can go at the same time. I think it's March.
Well, it's going to be in April, I just found out. Now it's April.
So, whatever. So if you'll make it where it's 2,500 and they can go to Tallahassee, we'll work on the other.
Okay.
The next, just for your information, the next Florida League of Cities conference that's held in August is going to be local. It's going to be out of.
Yeah, in Orlando.
It would be
And
in
right.
Orlando.
But
Anytime
only
it's
our
something they can
non-senior
Yeah.
students can attend that because they're usually in school by the time that happens, so, just so everybody
All right.
knows that. So it's a smaller
So
group. We have
you wanna
9
amend- you
students
wanna
right
change
now.
your motion?
I'm in the motion. I'd like to make a motion that we increase the travel budget from $5,000 to $7,500,
Ain't doing that.
right? $7,500 that will allow the kids to travel to
Nope.
Florida. That's another $2,500,
That's the
right?
25.
Nope,
That's a
I'm
$25
talking
increase.
about giving them 2,500, not 5,000. I'm not
Oh,
adding.
you wanna lower it.
We
You
already
wanna
got-
lower it.
They already
Oh,
got, no, I'm not gonna lower it. I'm adding, they already got 5,000.
Okay,
I'm saying we give them 2,500 more.
that's $7,500.
That's what he's saying.
Well,
We're
let's make sure
negotiating.
that's
That's
the
what I just
same.
said.
We're not gonna add, all right, as long as it's that, I'm good with that.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
75 plus we can travel to Tallahassee.
Yes.
Okay,
But
I'm good with
Under the
it.
rules of the city, responsibility of what the insurance, everything, parents
Great,
sign, all that.
because we're already
All right.
talking that.
Do
Okay.
we got to vote on that?
We have-
We vote on it?
Well, wait a minute.
We haven't been
Hold on a
seconded
second.
yet.
But, yeah, yes, but the thing
I
is,
second
what
it.
was the fundraising aspect? Was there a fundraising aspect that they had a?
I said-
I'm-
He said matching 2,500
Yeah.
that we as a
Yeah.
group, as a
It's just a
youth.
good thing to do that. It's a good thing.
That's
to do.
fine. We already started. We're going
right.
to have a spirit night,
Okay,
so we're
all
good.
right.
We have a
second
motion,
it.
and we have a second. Let's vote.
All right.
All right.
Only 80%'s in. Who's got that?
We didn't vote.
Who didn't vote?
All right, I'm going to reset it.
Reset, and let's vote again. You reset? All right.
Here we go. We got 100%.
There we go.
Hey,
Hey,
Pass.
thank you. I'm going to tell
All right.
all the kids.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm Dorcas Stillard, by the way, since I didn't say nothing.
Did you fill out a paper?
all right.
We gotta
Who are-
go,
where we at
we gotta
now?
go back to the, we have to hear from the finance director.
Finance director. Where you at, down here?
Well, we took a step backwards.
I know we're back here now.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask the Director of Finance to publicly announce the proposed final millage rate and the percent by which the proposed final millage rate exceeds the rollback rate. This is a proposed percentage increase in property taxes.
The proposed final millage rate is 4.9500 mils, which is 7% above the rollback rate of 4.6361. The increase in the millage rate will be used to balance the budget, which provides for citywide operations and capital improvements.
Becky, where's the 2,500 coming from?
We will find 2,500, I'm confident.
I'm just thinking we have to find it tonight.
Find it tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So maybe we can take a couple minutes and
Yeah.
figure out where the 2,500 come from.
Well, this don't take too long. We done been longer than what we should be. You need a 2-minute break?
Otherwise, if you want to recalculate, it's going to be 4.950
Right.
something. It's going to be
It
different
changes
than
the millage if we
4.95.
don't
You need a-
adjust it.
I have a question for you.
2,500 is gonna change the millage?
Slightly, yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned in one of the meetings that we're allowed to roll money over on the special circumstances. If we have the money in contingency, can we roll over 2,500 from contingency
What?
into this as a special?
Well, we can, I guess you could say we're rolling it over. What we would do is zero it out and just take an extra 2,500 from
Well, I
the
got-
reserves.
from where we
Because it would just go into reserves and then we would just
Yeah,
reallocate it from reserves.
I got a suggestion. That 15,000 contingency money, you don't have that figured into that millage rate coming back to us, right?
We have 50,000 in there.
Okay, I know, but I'm talking about the 15 we got left. I say
For
we.
this year.
I say we.
Oh,
I
15
know that,
from
I'll
this year.
fix that.
There's currently, I believe, $15,000 left in the contingency
No.
fund.
But what he was just talking about, what was the money you were saying? The 2,500, we take that, and we take the 10,000 out for the granite name thing for Unity Park.
Are you saying to roll them over?
Well, I'm saying
I'm
take
not quite sure.
$10,000 for the granite that's going in Unity
Take it
Park.
from, take it from where?
Take that 2,500, huh?
Are you saying take it from contingency? So what we would do
Yeah.
is we would just take
We
the
just gotta get a-
additional,
We could get a motion from these,
okay, so take the additional out of reserve and
Correct.
keep it at 4.95. That, I think
Yes.
that does it.
all
Okay.
right.
All right, just nobody said it, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
So you see where that 15,
Yes.
yeah, okay. All right, so it's good. All right,
So that's the granite and
yeah, yes, sir. Yep.
Are you aware of the granite that we were talking about for
I
10?
am not aware of the granite that you're talking
It's
about.
it's for the name of the 1920 remembrance, granted.
And it's currently
Unity
funded
Park.
in this year's budget?
Huh?
It's currently funded in this year's budget?
I don't know.
I think,
No,
I think
but
that
we
what
said we
he's,
found the money.
No, it
I
was not
believe
funded.
that what he's suggesting,
We just found it.
We just found the money.
Mr. Frank, is that he takes the 10,000 remaining out of the contingency. There's
Okay.
15 in contingency. We're going to use 10 for
You know what
granite.
to do.
We all agreed to that, so let's,
Yeah,
that's something that's gotta be done too, so, okay, all right, where we at now?
that's perfect. That's actually what
All
I
right.
asked for in the workshop.
Was there a motion on the floor somewhere, or we?
We voted on that.
Okay, we're done, okay.
All right, let me read, I'm just gonna read this again, Mayor.
Where are you at?
E,
Okay.
the name of the taxing authority is the City of Ocoee. The rollback millage rate is 4.6361 mils. The percentage by which the proposed millage rate exceeds the rollback rate is 7%. The millage rate proposed by the ordinance is 4.9500 mils. An ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, establishing a final millage rate of 4.9500 mils for ad valorem taxes for the City of Ocoee for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, providing for millage adjustment, providing for collection of taxes, providing for a 7% increase in millage rate over the rollback rate, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
I already did the part about the public hearing for, speak about the final millage rate,
Yeah,
so.
we had no comments on that, so.
All right, so I'm down to where, I will now close the public hearing, and call upon the city commission for any further comments or questions with respect to the proposed final millage rate. That's, everybody happy with 4.9500?
Someone make the motion.
I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson, here's a
So,
second.
hold on, the motion is to.
Oh,
I'm
adopt
sorry.
it.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah,
The motion is to move to adopt ordinance number 2022-14, setting a final millage rate of 4.9500 mils for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023.
did
Did I do it
you
right?
second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Brinson seconded, Commissioner Wilson made the motion. Any more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Hey. All right, now we're down to where we will now consider adoption of the final budget by ordinance. Prior to voting on the final budget, I will have the city attorney read the title of the ordinance.
This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Orange County, Florida, adopting a final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right, we're going to open the public hearing for the public to speak with respect to the final budget. All right. I now close the public hearing and call upon the city commission for any further comments or questions with respect to the final budget. No comments? I need a motion, accept the motion on the final budget.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Oliver.
Go ahead and read the motion.
Read it.
I move to adopt the ordinance number 2022-15, approving a final budget for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023.
All right. The motion has been made and seconded on the adoption of ordinance number 2022-15. Let's vote.
Mayor, who made the second?
It needs to be seconded.
Oh, I'll second it.
I thought we got a second.
I don't know, did someone second it?
No.
Okay, I'll be happy to.
Commissioner Wilson seconds it. Let's vote.
If it means we're gonna vote, yes, I'll second it.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Is that it? All right, before we close, I want to make a couple comments. That's final, that's it, folks. That's nice, but here's the deal. I had a couple of comments. I wanted to make sure, we had some public comments come in on email. We turned them into the city clerk. She puts them on public record. Anybody wants them, they can call the city clerk and ask for the public record, right, city clerk? Yes, so, millage rate. We have lowered our millage rate for the last 7 years. But with the increase in taxes for the county, the library, the St. John's Water Management, and everybody else, that changes your taxes. Ours, and thanks to these people up here, and thanks to our employees, all the employees and our staff, we have kept it and gone down, even with the taxes around the other places going up. That's a lot to do with what somebody's talking about public spending. We watch what we do. We try to do different things, and we've got a lot of things coming up with the concrete going to be put out on the sidewalks everybody's asking for, asphalt on the roads that's going to have to be done, trimming trees. A lot of people call me about the trees, got to be trimmed, and that's one of the things we mainly want to do is have the money to get this and get this problem. I will tell you that it was a major problem with the waste problem. We all faced it, and it's something that we tried not to pay more money back then, and it didn't work. So everybody gets a little blip every now and then. But I want you to know that our staff, all our staff, do a great job and got us where we're at today and got us for the citizens. This is the benefit for the citizens. And once again, thanks for coming out. All of you that came out tonight, we appreciate it, the ones in the public. It's great to have people come here and sit. I can remember, and I know they do, that there's times we never had anybody. So it's good to hear. And like I said, we had 3 or 4 citizens sent us comments today, and we put them on its own record, so it'll be there. So once again, everybody have a good night.
Good job, everyone.
Good job, guys. Well, can we